If she had gone home that night, this story would not exist. She would still be married, still admired, still praised as a woman who had everything under control. And I would still be pretending that the quiet ache inside me was something I could ignore forever. People like her are not supposed to unravel. They are not supposed to confess. They are definitely not supposed to look at another woman and whisper, "I think I've been living the wrong life." But she did. And with that single sentence, she cracked a life built on perfection, discipline, and applause. This is not a story about cheating. It's a story about what happens when a woman finally tells the truth after years of silence, and how one honest night can quietly destroy everything you were taught to protect. The woman who looked unbreakable. I always believed that some people were born certain. Their lives followed straight lines, their choices made sense, their futures felt inevitable. Clara Whitmore was one of those people. Vice president, married, composed in a way that never asked for attention. She didn't dominate rooms. She recalibrated them. When she spoke, people listened. When she smiled, people relaxed. When she walked away, people remembered. Her marriage was spoken about with polite admiration. A successful woman with a successful husband. A life that made sense, including to me, until the night I noticed how tightly she held her glass. Not nervous, controlled. The way her smile arrived just a fraction of a second too late. The way her shoulders never fully dropped, even when she laughed. The way her wedding ring caught the light every time she lifted her hand, as if reminding herself of a role she couldn't remove. She wasn't unhappy. She was absent, and absence can be far more dangerous than pain. The charity gala was designed to impress. Crystal chandeliers, champagne that tasted expensive and hollow, music that filled the silence people were afraid to sit with. Everyone looked successful. Everyone sounded confident. Everyone was pretending. I stayed because I was supposed to, because leaving early would raise questions, because blending in felt easier than explaining myself. But after 2 hours, my chest tightened, the noise pressed inward, the laughter felt sharp instead of joyful. I slipped toward the terrace, craving air that didn't ask me to perform. The city stretched below, honest and indifferent. That's when I felt her beside me, not announced, not dramatic, just present. She rested her hands on the railing, fingers still, too still. "Do these things ever feel dishonest to you?" she asked. Her voice was calm, but tired in a way polish couldn't hide. I answered without thinking. "Only when I remember I am supposed to enjoy them." She turned toward me then, really looked at me, and something in her expression cracked. "Yes," she said quietly, "that's exactly it." For a moment, neither of us spoke. Two women standing outside a perfect room, sharing a truth neither of us had planned to say aloud. I didn't know it then, but this was the last moment her life would feel intact. I thought that would be the end of it. A fleeting connection, a shared confession swallowed by the night. But when my car arrived and I stepped inside, the door opened again. She slid in beside me. "I hope this isn't strange," she said softly. "I just don't want to go home yet." She didn't give the driver an address. She didn't explain. The car pulled away, and without realizing it, so did the version of ourselves we had been performing. The confession she never planned to make. The park was quiet. Streetlights flickered uncertainly. The river reflected a city that didn't care what we were about to destroy. We sat on a cold bench, coats brushing, close enough to feel each other breathe. She stared ahead for a long time before speaking. "I've always known," she said finally, "that I was drawn to women." The words landed heavy, unprotected. "I told myself it was a phase," she continued, "that marriage would fix it. Stability, respect, applause." Her laugh was brittle. It never did. She told me about her husband. Kind, reliable, emotionally distant. About how he loved the idea of her more than the truth of her. About how she once tried to explain what she felt and was met with laughter instead of listening. "So I stopped talking," she said. "I became excellent at silence. I didn't interrupt. I didn't reach for her. She needed space to be brave. When you looked at me tonight," she whispered, "you didn't see the wife or the title." Her voice broke. "You saw me." Tears slipped down her cheeks. Quiet, restrained. Not dramatic, like grief for years she could never get back. I offered her my scarf. Our fingers brushed. She didn't pull away. Instead, her hand stayed, slow, careful, like she was asking permission to exist. "This is the most alive I've felt in years," she said, and the honesty of that terrified her. We talked until the night thinned, about childhood dreams, about identities we buried to survive, about the cost of being admired instead of known. She admitted that she had built her life on what was safe, and that safety had slowly suffocated her. Dawn crept in quietly, lavender brushing the sky. When I walked her back to her townhouse, she stopped at the door. "I don't know what happens now," she said. "Neither do I." She leaned in and kissed my cheek. Barely, but her eyes promised something neither of us was ready to name. She turned back once before going inside, and in that look was a question that would not let me sleep. The days that followed felt unreal. Messages arrived late at night. I can't stop thinking. I feel terrified and honest at the same time. Is this what waking up feels like? We met for coffee, for walks, for conversations that stretched too long. Nothing physical happened, and yet everything had already shifted. She told me she felt like she was standing on the edge of herself, unsure whether to step forward or retreat into comfort. "I don't want to hurt anyone," she said. "Truth doesn't hurt. Silence does." The choice that couldn't be undone. One night she called me. Not texted, not cautiously, not with time to rehearse. She called. I answered immediately, and before I could say her name, I knew something had shifted. Her voice wasn't trembling anymore. It was calm, clear, terrifyingly certain. "He noticed," she said. "He doesn't know why. He doesn't know what." A pause. "But he knows I'm not the same woman." I closed my eyes, my chest tight. "And what did that make you feel?" I asked softly. Silence stretched between us, long enough that I wondered if she had changed her mind, long enough that I could hear my own heartbeat. "I felt relief," she said, and then I realized how dangerous that was. We met later that night. She was already there when I arrived, standing under a streetlight, arms wrapped around herself like she was holding something fragile together. Me. Her entire life. When she saw me, she didn't smile. She walked straight toward me and took my hand, openly, firmly, as if letting go was no longer an option. I don't know where this leads, she said, her voice low but unshaking. I don't know who I lose. I don't know what I destroy. Her fingers tightened around mine. But I know this. She swallowed hard. I can't go back to pretending I didn't wake up. Her eyes filled, but she didn't cry. I have spent my entire life being the woman everyone trusted, the wife who made sense, the choice that was safe. Her voice cracked then. And for the first time, I'm choosing something that scares me more than loneliness. I stepped closer. And what do you want? I asked again. She didn't hesitate this time. I want a life that feels like mine, even if it costs me everything else. She was still married, still admired, still powerful. But she was standing at the edge of a truth she could never unknow. And I understood something then. Some loves don't arrive to rescue us. They arrive to ruin the lie we were surviving. And once you choose honesty, once you feel what it's like to finally be awake, there is no version of you that can ever go back to sleep.